Welcome back, everyone. What do we have today to do? After we did all this scene in the previous videos, as you could see, we just want to continue and maybe this time we will finish it, shall we? It's not much left to do, but there are a few things that I want to start with and that I don't like. So if we enlarge this render buffer, whatever it is called, the first thing that I don't like is the fact that I can see the reflections into the back plate that we have on this spaceship from the engines. So let's try to solve that first before we continue with anything. That should be fairly simple to solve. So if I'm going into my group, open the group, and yeah, I think I should find the spaceship somewhere in here. You know what, let's hide the fog for time being, for now. Let's see. If we go now into the box, it has the same material as it had, as it was in the past. Something is, no, nothing is wrong here. I just forgot. So this is the plate that we have in the back. Let's go to the material slate, and right now it is having the Corona car paint shader, whatever that thing is. So what we want something similar, but I was thinking I want the reflections, but not to be so bright and so prominent. So let's try to do exactly that. Let me get a new material, Corona. I'm not going to make a copy or anything like that. Let's call this fading car paint. Okay, let's apply to it fading car paint, and now it has the color that it has. Obviously it's gray, reducing only to that area. Let me enlarge this window to have a bit more details, and let's make it black. I try to avoid perfect black color. Okay, roughness, do I want something less than that? Less than 0.75. Let's try with 0.3. I do want some reflections, but I just don't want them to be so clear and sharp. Yeah, I think something like that should work just fine. Now, let's put it at 0.5. If I increase the index of refraction, yes, of course. So how about 1.2 as index of refraction to get a bit more black? I'm thinking I don't like the fact that it's now completely black. Maybe I would like to have some kind of an effect of lighting, of heat from those engines. So how about we go to maps, Corona, and we get distance. It's really nice, this distance material feature. Let me select these engines, add the object as a distance, and how about we put it as a light, as a self-illumination. It's not allowing me to have it, maybe because I don't have self-illumination of any kind. That's a bit weird. Maybe in color. Huh. Yes. No self-illumination in, not even in the color for some reason. That's a bit weird. Okay, let's try in a different way then. So in here I should have a self-illumination. Yes, and it is at 100%. So how about we use the map in here? Can make a circular reference. Ah, the material. So he is considering that the material is applied to the same object. Now I understand. Got it. So how about then we put a different side of the ship as input for the self-illumination. Let's try this. And now, if I go, it should work now. Of course, now it does. Good. I didn't know it's that clever to understand this kind of scenario, but that's really nice. So now what do we want? Let's start initially. That's right. So perfectly 100% illuminating in there. We want only on the edges. So maybe 1 meter, even less, 0.3, 0.1. Yeah, it starts to get it. 0.05. Okay, a bit too much. 0.08. Okay, so it would be like that, but we will have to use something to increase the contrast, otherwise it will make it all like that. So we will get a color correct, which has the option for contrast. I press Control, and by pressing Control it will add those inputs and outputs automatically. Let's increase the contrast by a lot. Yep. And now we go in here and we try 0.2 again. Still too much. 0.1. Nope. 0.09. Okay, so contrast is at maximum. Okay, if I invert the colors. So I think let's try the other way around. It's completely black in there and completely white in here. So the other way around, maybe we are in a better situation to control that. No, 0.36. So how about 0.25? Maybe we have the wrong object. No, I have the right object in here. It's a bit sensitive, this distance corona thing, so let's try a 0.1. Oh no, we have to increase because we reverse the color, so 0.5 to make it completely black. Let's go in here and increase the contrast just enough for us to have what we need. Now I'm going to put this on the white and this on the black. Okay, so let's go again, little by little. Okay, so the whole thing now is, yeah, because I had inverted colors. Yes, so now I have everything. Okay, so now it's good, but we have too much contrast. That's not the problem. I'm switching to perspective and I want to look at this closer. We don't need to see the details in there. There. So now we can see the details. Let's go back to material slate. Decrease the contrast. Okay, so this contrast is also quite sensitive. So I will have to put even less light and to decrease the contrast more. Hopefully will allow me to have a nice transition. Okay, so now it's at zero contrast. Let's play with it a bit more. There, something like that. Okay. Okay, so it has something. Yeah, I think I will leave it like this. Now, self-illumination, I'm not sure if I can, if the map is I remember is controlling the color and the multiplier is independent. So if I apply this multiplier and if I go into distance map and I apply the color that we have in here, there. Yep, far better. Something like that. We don't need to be very precise. I could combine this with a different map to get a more organic effect. But for now, I would say I'm fine with what it is. I will put the contrast of 1. I could tint it as well in here. After all, yeah. So let's tint. Let's apply a tint as well in here. If I increase the exposure, of course, it's going to make it way too powerful. And if I invert the color, it does work on the other side. That's all right. Yeah, let's leave it as it is. Good. So that's that. Yes. Now, what should we do? So we have some foreground in here that is looking nice, but is, well, not the best, I would say. Now let me stop the render and let's import some more. So what do we have? I downloaded previously this very huge sandstone cliff. Let's get it into 3ds Max. It's going to be imported at the maximum resolution, no LOD 0. So we should get all the nice details from it. I want to use it in the foreground in combination with the other rocks. Let's see, where is it? Okay, so which side is it? Again, they are coming kind of upside down. Let's isolate this and let's see. Is it upside down? No, it isn't upside down. It's just in a different rotation. Okay, that's all right. And isolate. Let's make it big enough for us to use it. Let's see. Position it somewhere around where we can have some nice details from it. I put it the other way around. It should be something like this. There. I do want to have some edge in the background that is giving more details than just what we had before. Let's see again how it works, how it goes. Of course, it will have a different color, so we'll have to adjust that, and too high, so it will be a little bit too much. Okay, switching to local, so we can rotate this. Want it a bit more straight. And with those details, I think I can also enlarge it more. Yeah, let's see. Let's make this window smaller than that so we can see. Of course, larger means some of those stones will be too much for what we need, but at the right level it would be just fine. Perfect. Now I do want to go and adjust the color. I want to adjust the color of both. I don't like the fact that this thing is so bluish kind of thing. Is it the right material? Yes, it is. Okay. So it's bluish because of the environment. Here it's not blue, it's gray. So that means that if we go towards, let's say, yellow or gold, I still want to be kind of a neutral tone. So if I add it like that, that should be just fine. Yep. Let me copy the color. And now if we go to this, to the material of this guy in here, move it. I have a bunch of materials, one on top of the other. Let's move those two. It's not nice. Okay. Removing the albedo. And I'm going to copy the color. There. Now that looks far better, isn't it? That's it. Good. Very nice. Now if I'm going to the first box that is going to give me the fog. Yes, I'm having something like that. And now, what was the second box? Okay, so the second box was for that. And the third box was for the more prominent fog. Let's solve this more for prominent fog first. So I do really want to be very prominent, but the more prominent it will be, the more it will start to be difficult to hide it in the background, right? So I need to be careful with that. So I want something like this around there. If you remember, we will have three fog intensities, let's say, to try to get some really nice shot from this. If you don't remember, or if it's the first time when you come to these videos, check in my channel. You will see how I did all the other stuff that I have in there, including the last two videos, in which you will see this how this setup was achieved. So now if I am increasing the fog, that would be the fog that I will need, but I think this will go too much in the background. So how can we do it? Well, I think again we can apply, yes, we can apply coordinate distance map. And this time I will want all the rocks that we have here in the front to be the driver for this fog. So if I'm introducing them in here, and if I'm going to scattering, there. So more fog in the front and less in the back. So that means we should put the white in the beginning and the black at the end. That's it. And I would put in here 5 meters to try initially, to try to fade away. Yeah, it does look nice and interesting. We have also some effect from the rocks geometry, so that's quite cool. Now what I do want about this absorption, it is completely black. So how about, yes, of course. So how about we try to invert and control the absorption with it as well. So if I'm going now to, do we have an invert something in here from Corona? I don't think we have. Okay, so I will have to have a color correct. No problem, color correct, going into here, and I will invert the colors. That should give me perfectly transparent endings. That's all right. That's nice. Now what I do want in here would be probably to put this a bit less white. Now I will keep it completely white. But what I will do in here, I will increase this to about 15. Yeah, something like that. I think this would work. So all of them in here, more fog in the foreground, less fog in the background, and I think we should choose to allow them to mix with other volumes. They are. Okay, I don't like the fact that I'm having this hard edge in here. Is it just for now? No. So it will mix with all the others. So how about we don't allow to mix with all the other? Is it going to allow us something better? Maybe. Let's not mix them. So if we don't mix them, yes, we will have something very weird like this. So how about we allow this to mix? Yeah, no, we will have to allow them all to mix. And then probably I will increase this to about 20 meters. Maybe that will make things a little bit better. Okay, let's make it big. So what's happening with Corona? Despite you see some stuff like this in the render, at some point in time it starts to be clear and is fading away. So I'm just checking to see if that would be the case now, because if not, then maybe I would just need to decrease the scattering a bit. For some reason only in these areas it's doing it. Okay. So how about we leave absorption be for time being. Yeah, this will make it a lot more prominent. So 150 meters. Make it a bit less prominent. Ah yes, because we have scattering. So it should be 100% scattering, and I think absorption is the one that should be controlled. Let's see again. Yeah, it starts to be better. I don't like that I have that in there. So let's go back to the scattering thing. Let's increase it to about 50 meters. Let's reduce this and that. Let's see what's happening. Yes. So that is like that. Yeah, so when they are combining together all the volumes, I think that's the cause of it. So if I'm combining it with this, yes, I'm getting that effect if I'm combining with this, yeah. So all of them. Let's see how big this box is. Yeah, so what we can do then, we can just go to box 1 and move it. So that is not so much in the front. So they don't mix. Something like this. Or at least if they mix, they don't mix too much. And now, of course, that would be too high. And those rocks as well. Let's get the other box. Ah, yes, because the other box is also bigger. So I want, of course, more fog from the other box. Yes, you see, so where it starts to cross the threshold, I'm starting to have those kind of stuff. It's not too great, not too nice, but at least we can control it like this. So if I'm getting with this closer, yeah, I'm having something like that. So how about getting this in here, and instead of having a straight line in there, I rotate the box and try to get it more towards the edge. That's not too bad. So that could be one solution. I just need the fog to be a bit more in there. The other solution would be to increase the length of this one, since we can control how this fog is done with the rocks. Yeah, how about we increase the length of it and we make it be for all the rocks. Okay, so something happened in here. That is not allowing me. Well, okay, so back to it. So if I am adding them all in here, let's hide this and that. Something like that. Yep. And now into the corona distance, I will want to introduce the rest of the assets that we had. Let me cancel the auto backup, the annoying auto backup. Okay. So also those assets in there for controlling the fog. Let's wait for it to update. Okay, so let me increase the length of this box. So I will want to pass over those mountains. Actually, it's not the length, it's the rotation of it. Huh, interesting effect in there. Okay, so what we have, yes, is taking into account the boxes. That's very weird. So it's like only the top part is having fog because it's not intersecting fully the fog. Yeah, that's a bit weird. And that would be a shame because we cannot use this effect like this unless we go edit poly and yeah, we modify the box, we put it down in those areas. Let's see, so ring connect somewhere around there, doesn't matter. And now if I am selecting those edges, I should be able to select those edges. Why I'm having only because yes. So again, connect. Yes. Where do I have the? Yes, it is in here. Good. Now selecting those. If I'm going in here and tilt this down, I should be able to control a bit better where they are. So let's try. Bringing it closer. Is it stuck? Let's try again. I may ask too much from it. There, that's better. Now I'm still not sure if I can combine it with the other fog, but at least I can a little bit control the fog in here. That is getting closer to the ship. And I think I know why. So that is why he's having so much lag, is because he has too much of a geometry to compute for the distance map. So let's bring this close, like somewhere around here where it should go down. And let's remove those rocks from the computation of the distance map. I cannot see more. Okay, so let me go in here. Which one is it? Yes, so these ones in here. Let's put them back so that the map is computing only with the foreground. Okay, and now let's put these even lower. And bring this here. Yes. So in this way it will fade below. That might not solve our problem, by the way, but worth a try. Let me go like this, put it closer to the ground. Yeah, we may need to do something more than simple things to fine-tune this thing. Okay, so how about I'm adjusting that. Yep. Bit more. Of course, now it will be there, but if I'm raising this, I think it's intersecting the camera. There. So it goes all right. Now I just need to be a bit lower than that. Yeah. Slightly higher. Yeah, we will play like this until it is matching a bit better with the rocks that we have in there. Something like that. Let me try with the other fog that we have around. We moved them, isn't it? So because we moved them, I have to move them back. Let's move them back. I still don't like the fact that here it's too powerful, but if I'm adjusting this to be less powerful, it should work just fine. Okay, so something like that. Now let's adjust this one in here more. And by the way, this one should be a bit more straight. And I'm thinking if I'm lower it in here and raise it in here, should be a bit better. Tricky. Okay, so how about then? This is becoming way too complicated for such a simple render, so I'm not going to fiddle more with it. What I am going to do is reduce it in length and apply it locally in that area only. That's it. Something like that. And I will need to be a bit inclined to match a bit better with those rocks. In which direction to be inclined? I think this is the right direction. No. In the opposite direction it should be. Yes. Maybe even more. Let's try like that. Okay, so that would bring it only in those areas here in the foreground. Let's raise it up. Nope, too much. Yeah, something like that. I want to rotate this more. I was hoping that I can cut that corner there. You know what? Let's reduce the width of it. And let's arrange it only for the areas where we really want to be. Okay. So maybe now applying an edit poly. And reducing this guy here. Okay. So in the end, not that simple, but not too complicated either. Okay, somewhere around there. Something like that. So how about I'm connecting these two with another two edges, and we start adjusting these vertices around so that we don't have it in this area. Yeah, it works quite all right. Something like that. Yeah, I don't mind that. I could get more precise, but I think for now it should be just fine. Am I 100% white? Yes, I am. Let's try again 5. We'll introduce a bit more details. And of course less fog 50. Maybe going back to 100. Yeah, 2 meters. Is this going to make it? Got it. Okay. Maybe the 50. Let me delete the absorption control. Put it right in the middle. Or if it's perfectly white, we will have nothing, isn't it? But let's try nevertheless. 5. I want it to be dense. A lot more dense in the middle. Yeah, that's more like it should be. Okay. Now still invert with the inverted map. Okay, and now this is 5. Of course, now it's too much. 15. Let's try a bit more. Okay. Yeah, let's leave it like that for now. Let me reduce this box in height. No, actually, let's use the edit poly for that. I don't want corner to calculate too much. Okay. So we have these two. Something like that. Let me go to the region. And yes, after a while it will fade away, but we still see an edge in there. Okay. and I don't like that edge in there. So how about then keeping things very simple, one box for all, and then we introduce volumetrics. That could work. So I have a few of them in here from the previous project, which we could use. And the reason why I'm thinking to use them is because at the end of the day, if they mix with the original volume, with, let's say, the first box, it doesn't really matter much, because the mix will not be a straight line, and this is what we are trying to avoid, really. A straight line mixing with the other volume. It's very, very annoying. And yeah, it's a bit unfortunate that Corona is like that. It's not a bad thing that is mixing the volumes. I mean, I saw in other times this mixing volumes thing, and it's not bad. It's quite useful, but this time it proves to be a challenge, and it's a shame. But nevertheless, we have some helicopter smoke, dust, something like that, from a previous project. I bought this on Turbo Squid. It's not very expensive. If you're interested to know which ones I use in here, leave a comment in the comment section, and I will gladly reply and let you know which one I used. Let's see. So I want to cover a bit more on that side. Something like that. All right. So now it's looking all right. What do I want now? I don't like the fact that I have almost no details onto this rock. This is so weird. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to check the not edge face, the displacement of that. Clay. So it is that one in there. And now let's check the displacement. Yes, not too much displacement. So how about 1 meter as a displacement, or even more? I do want for stuff in here to have a bit more details. Not sure if I'm altering the right thing, really. Is it the right thing? Yes, it is. I think this time I will keep the color on this thing. Okay, so let's try 2 meters. Because we don't have displacement, of course, because it's 100% the scan thing, not LOD0, so it will be foolish to apply displacement on it. Forgot that. So then it's the bump that we need to increase to get more details out of it. There, that's better. I don't want that color. Okay, good. Now again, the volumes are mixing in there too, so I think it will be only nice to put less of this foggy thing. So I will reduce the scale of the absorption to 0.2. That would be 5 times less. Not 5 times less, 20% of it. I don't like it. It's not too prominent, so 0.5 it would be better. And let's see with the first box. Okay, let's put it on the big screen, and let's go and look over a region. Let's say in here we should start to see it clear. Yes, that is correct. So much simple setup than what it was before, but we use volumetrics rather than VDBs, not volumetrics, VDBs, rather than a box with the volume shader from Corona. Now, before we go and add the other stuff, I want to see if I can do anything to these things, to these rocks in here, to have something maybe smaller. I don't like that they are so large in comparison with the ship. Yeah, so I think this should be just fine. Yes, I think I need to elevate this foggy thing in here. Just a bit more, and push it more towards this side and closer to the camera, like that. Yeah, and then in combination with this one, which is a bit too high, yeah, that's looking quite all right. I'm just curious in here, this Excel thing, if I hide them all, where do I have? See, so I have it in here. Okay. So what shall we do about that? Yeah, it started to intersect with the camera, so of course it disappeared. Yes, I do want to have a bit more in there. Now I'm curious if I'm putting them to 0.3, so less fog, but in combination with the first box, would that be all right? Maybe. Yeah, I think I want that rather than so much fog. The trouble with all this is that Corona is not revealing too much of details in the beginning, so it's hard to understand initially how much would be really nice to have. But I can see that I can barely see any type of environment in there, so I think it may be too much to have so much fog. Okay. Now another thing that I don't like is still this rock in here. So maybe if I am rotating it, okay. So one of those rocks in here are a bit too high. do like this one in here. I don't like this one in there. So I like some shapes, but not all. Yeah, so this is coming from there. That's good. So how about raising it even more? No, too much. Let's leave it like that. And what can I do about that one? Actually, we may not need to do anything about that one because we will have depth of field in the camera. All right, so let's turn on the volume grid once more to see what we have. Well, I get the third one just to see what do I get from the third one. Maybe something interesting around. Not much really, is quite small. And flat. I think I scale it down. So if I'm going with it towards the front, yeah, I will have a bit of that fog in there. Yeah, you know what? Why not? Why not going towards the front and add some shapes using this. Something like that. Yes. And with the third one that is coming here in the front. Now I do want to alter the camera perspective of this, so I do want to have something similar to that and maybe bring it closer. Maybe something like that. Not too much, just enough. But I don't want to lose the, yeah, I don't want to lose what I have in here and keep adjusting cameras around. So if I am going to clone it, when this 3ds Max will let me click on the clone button, clone, thank you. Okay, so it's camera 2. Let's switch to camera 2. Let's go to camera 2 target. That's it. Why? So we want to have some more of some of the horizon of around 1/3 of the image rather than right in the front, right in the middle. So that could prove useful, maybe more. That would be too much. So let's leave it there, and I think by adjusting the box that we have in here, we should be just fine. Getting closer with our box. Not doing much. I suppose if we would increase the height, yes, of course, but we don't want to do that. So by increasing the height, and leave it just at just enough. It's not going to put that horizon line better, but at least for now, yes, it would be, I think it's all right. Now, let's get those rocks that we had in here. Let's put some more. Now, good thing about the VDBs is that I can just hide them and continue with the rest of the things. Oh, I have some mountains in here too. Let's delete this. And I have this one as well. Let me delete that. Yeah. Yeah, so at least we lost a lot more from the horizon line. We have some nice details in here from those rocks, but we need to have more. So let's see, which ones are they? It shouldn't be this one. Select them, hide them all. And which one is here? Ah, got it. So in here is this one. I should have it closer. Let's get the fog in here. That's it. Good. So closer in here so we can see the shapes that we have, the ridges that we have from them. Let's get this one as well closer. That's it. Yeah, something like this. I want to have some stuff in there, not to be completely empty. It's not too much of a big deal what it is in there. Now I do want this thing to be somewhere in the middle, but with less in scale, and a bit further away so it does add some depth. And I'm having this one in here as well, which is a big one, and I could, I think, add it right there. Yes, so this will give nice perspective. I think I want even further away to be, so that we see some shape but is far. There. Okay, so now we have this one in here, so we could Let's focus only on this side, on this distance, let's say. Let's make it bigger. That's it. I do want some nice ridges to see around. Just very subtle, very, very subtle. Not too exaggerated. There, something like that. That should be work. That should work just fine. You can see details, but you cannot. You don't. You cannot really know what they are. Now this guy is right behind the spaceship, and I didn't like the shapes, so I will just put it a bit lower so that I don't see the shapes popping up from the spaceship, greening the edge. All right, that's looking really nice. So now if I'm going to volume grid, to my VDBs, I should have a lot of fog right there in the foreground, and then it should fade away nicely towards the background. Yes. Now what do we need to do? I think I'm going to get one of these, make them really big, and apply them to be in the background, like really large. Yes, and I start to see a lot more of it because the fog is covering only up to here, of course. So I think to keep it simple, we leave it like that. Now, I don't like the fact I have too much of light in there, so I will want to adjust the skylight. For now it's 0.1, 0.03. There. So it goes a bit better. A lot more darker towards background. Also, I don't like one of the materials in here, so if I'm hiding this box and if I am selecting the material, is the light in here is not too bright, should be a bit brighter, so how about 3? Yeah, it goes all right. I lose the color at 3, so maybe at 2 I have a bit more color, 1.5. I don't want to lose the whole color of the light in here. Yeah, that should be better. Now I'm having this geometry in here that is sitting in the air. That's not good. Let's make it big. And instead of sitting there in the air, which I'm sure that at some point will be visible, and we get into a lot of problems because of it. Okay. So that's looking a lot more as we want. And now, what I will want, I want just a bit of fog right here in the middle, right on top of this thing. And yes, mixing with the fog is giving too much, so 0.1 for all these VDB clouds would be a bit better. And I am going to make a copy of this VDB and hide this rock in here, which I don't like. Let's see. Should be somewhere around here. Yep. That's it. I do want to see some bits. I just don't want to see all. It's a bit too flat kind of thing, and there. That's it. This, and that. At 0.1. And let's get the main fog. Do I want, however, one of the fog to be a bit lower? It's a straight line in here again. I don't like those straight lines, so maybe something lower would make it a bit more interesting. So volume grid chill as well. Actually, I don't think that being lower is the problem. I think they should be closer to the camera. They are too far, too close from the edge. This one is grid chill. Yes, so I want something like that, but let's rotate a bit. Let's keep it lower. There. So that's a bit better. Okay. Box one. Again. Now, shall we introduce some humans around? I think we should. So how about we try? So what you get with Corona, you get the not the material, the cosmos. And cosmos does have some models. Now, all this being so foggy, it doesn't really matter. The details, those models are not like meta-humans from Unreal, but it's sufficient, I would say. So I had in here man standing with camera, one that I imported earlier a long time ago. This thing is quite old as a scene. So I want to put this human onto somewhere onto a rock. This spaceship is quite big, so it's only normal for the human to be really small. So what we are going to do is to put it bigger, a bit bigger in scale. It's a man with a camera, so not too bad. Let's try to put it somewhere onto a rock. Bit into the distance, closer to this part of the cliff. I don't care much about the alignment or anything like that. Everything is so foggy that it will be too hard to notice. But still, it will be good to have something that is matching, rather than a human that stays in with his legs in the rock. So how do we want something like this? So here we have the spaceship, here we have the human. Not sure if we would even see this human. So I'm thinking, I think it's quite all right. Let's see again with the fog. Maybe we should try something closer to the spaceship, really, rather than here. Yeah, closer I think would be better. Yes. So somewhere in the fog we have a tiny human taking pictures. Our spaceship is quite yeah, it's quite into the ground, so let's adjust that as well. And it may be a bit into the rocks, but at least not to be like half of it. Something like that should be all right. Now going back to our little human in here. Yeah, it will be very hard to perceive him with all that fog around. So I think I will reduce this fog even more. So we see some of the bits, but not completely. And it will blend a bit better with the environment. And let's see our human. Maybe we will need to adjust the materials. I think we don't need to adjust materials for it. Let's see how it looks like with the rocks around and with the reduced fog. Okay, doesn't look too bad. Now if we would composite everything, then it will be a different story, but we don't want to do that. So more fog or less fog. Let's see, 0.3 again. I think I like it more with having a lot of fog. Sun. So the sun is at 0.08, 0.02. Want it darker as an image. That's too dark. Am I having a tone applied? No, nothing. Okay. Going back to our human in here. Now, going back to fog, I think this fog is way too much. The main big fog, let's say. Let's call it like that. So the second VDB to go lower, third VDB as well. Let's push them lower. There. And fourth VDB is the one that is hiding here, the stuff. Okay, so we have some details in here, not so many in here. We have visible rocks in there. That should work far better for what we want. Yes. Okay. Let me save it. I think we can start now and play with the sun position to have maybe even more interesting effects. So right now the sun comes right from the camera and is quite high up. So if I am going to reduce the sun height, we should see a different kind of CAD rays around. That's what I'm trying to achieve. Let's start again from the same position, but rather than right at the horizon line, maybe in a totally different position, maybe from there to have longer shadows on this side, for example. Or maybe increasing the intensity of the sun, but decreasing the exposure. Now, so I think in the end, what also could work would be to apply a directionality on the scattering. So we make it a bit lighter onto the area where we have the sun and darker on the areas without the sun. That could be also an interesting solution. And if we do that, we will be able to start seeing some other details that we have around, because we will have less fog in the lower areas and more fog in the upper areas in here. Yeah, so that could also be an interesting shot. But for now, let's leave it simple. No directionality. The sun is quite high above. Maybe I can increase the intensity of the sun. It won't be too white. So 0.05 I think is too low. 0.08 should be just fine. And yes, and I'm going to, in the end, try to reduce the intensity of the color of those rocks in there. Darker. They are too light. I don't like that. So let's try to do it. I can keep it, yeah. Let's go towards kind of black. Not completely black, but still. That's all right. Let's go to the next. And paste the color. That will increase the contrast with the fog. So it shouldn't be too bad. There you go. That's nice as a contrast. I didn't like that yellow thing that it was in there. That should help read the shapes in the foreground a bit better. And yes, I think that would be it. It doesn't look bad at all. Maybe now since we did increase the contrast with the fog, we can even lift this fog in here so that we have a bit less of an empty space in here, seeing that big rock, right? But we still have our human in there taking pictures, and we still have our rocks popping around and the fog in between. So I just stopped recording after I was doing some modifications on the scene. So I'm starting over with some of the bits that I did meanwhile. The things that I don't like is the fact that I'm having some of these VDBs in here looking, I don't know, a bit too weird, I would say, for my taste. They look a lot more like clouds, and I don't like this idea of having like literally clouds. So the nice thing about VDBs and in Corona is that you can scale them up to look more like strands of fog, if we can call them like that. So this is exactly what I was doing in here, and that should work far better. So I'm scaling down. What's going on in here? I'm scaling down this VDB clouds. Ah, yes, I remember. Okay, and I want to scale it on the local axis since I'm already with them rotated and all that. I still want to hide that rock in the front, but now they are done. The fog is done in such a way so that it is yeah, has a different length. It's like flowing from one side to another. I also changed the color of these rocks because they were too bright, and I want more contrast with these rocks around. And I also did add our little human in there that is taking pictures, maybe for Instagram. I don't know. Yeah, so something like this. So now I'm having some rocks that are coming here in the foreground, but they are coming out of the fog. I'm looking at the quality of these VDBs because I do want to be sure that I'm not seeing that quality in the render, and it's a 4K render, so we must check constantly for the quality of it. Okay, that's looking quite all right. Let's go to the other fog that we have in the scene. So I don't see anything wrong with this one, especially that is just for that part in there. So I want to adjust it for a bit and keep it a bit higher, not too high. Rotate a bit more. Yeah, it is intersecting the camera. I cannot wait for Corona 10 to be released. I heard that they are making they will change the camera and it will be a little bit more intelligent. So that means that it will recognize the volume in which the camera sits in, and in this way it will it will not cut the or hide the VDB clouds just because they are intersecting with the camera. So that would be a very nice addition, because right now we are losing quite a lot of time to adjust these clouds around, just so that they don't touch the camera, so that they don't disappear. It's not too bad, it's just that it would be really nice if we wouldn't lose that time. Okay, so right now I'm having this one and this one in there. That's good. They look better. They look more like fog that you would see on some rocks in a mountain somewhere. So that's good. Let's scale this as well. Don't like these small bits that are popping out of the rocks. They look very unnatural. So I'm going to make them longer in this one as well. Raise it a bit higher. Not too high. Maybe coming closer to the foreground and closer to the camera. I do want to have it closer to the camera, so let's try. Is it going to let us do it? No. So there you go, again, no camera intersecting with the camera. It's not going to work. Let's see how it is now. Okay, so we have this like that, which is looking all right. It's hiding a little bit these rocks here, which is great. That's good. And in combination with this, will look alright. And in combination with this, should be just about right. So I wouldn't need the third VDB. Let's see, what was the third VDB about? Okay, so it was just there at the bottom, but again, it was looking a bit. No, I don't want that. Maybe in this axis will be a bit better. Okay, let's try to put this under the camera. Rotate it a bit more and higher up, being smaller. Yeah, so this would hide a bit more in the foreground. Yeah, the foreground. I'm not sure if I really want it. Maybe I do want it just a bit in here, or maybe I want it even smaller and closer in here. Something like that. To see just a bit of it. Now enlarge it. Yeah, something like this. So this with that and with the others. Yes, so now now this looks far better. So if I'm putting the picture at the high resolution, if I'm checking this area in here, it does look far better. You can see that there is clearly something in there. There are clearly some rocks in there, and then you can also see some details, but everything is in the fog. Yes. Not sure what's going on in here. With that, you can see something is like it's stopping in there, and I don't like that. So maybe it's which volume grid it is. Right, so it is this one in here. How about instead of doing that, we leave part of this in here to be visible. So maybe we can adjust this so that it is a bit smaller, and in this way it's not so much in your eye. And I think that area in there is nothing more than just the shadow. No, it's quite all right. No, it's far better. So let's push this a bit more. Let's see what's happening in here. Yeah, so we can see some details in there. Maybe we can keep this partially visible. Yes, that looks way better. I do want to hide some details in there. Great, yeah. But to reveal a lot more in here, closer to our little human. And let's see, what do we have in here? How these areas are looking like. Okay, so I don't like those shapes in there. Just don't like them. So that means that if I can maybe push this more towards the front so that we avoid those two shapes. We need to push quite a lot. So how about then just a bit lower? So we hide them into the rocks. I'm afraid are not coming from this. Yes, they were coming from the last one in here, from this one. So then I need this one to be pushed a bit more to the front. So we don't have those shapes in there visible. It looks like we need to be a bit lower too. Yes, something like that. now it makes more sense the way they are. And I think it got cancelled. No, it couldn't. If I'm bringing it up completely, it may be too much. Let's see. Yeah, this one looks a bit better. Yes. So now having all these done in here, how is the rest? Yeah, now this doesn't look too bad. But no, I still don't like this area in here, so we'll try to come closer with this. A bit lower. Yeah, I think now it's all right. Okay, so that's that. Let's activate the full fog. And can we do anything in the foreground maybe to look better? I think we can. So we have our little human in there taking pictures. We have the nice fog. We have a bit of a rock in there popping out from the fog. That's great. But what do we miss? What do we miss is this rock in here is fairly empty in details. And I think our little human is sitting in the air. Yes, he is. So what we need to do now is to see how we can replace this with something that looks far better. And the next thing, well, the first thing to do is to take care of our human in there, to not sit in the air anymore. Yes, so let's put him here on the rocks. There, that looks as it should. And now, I do have a few of them in the collection, my own stuff, from the same pack in this Megascan, and a few of them are really nice and sharp, and they have nice details, so I think we can use those. They were here. Let me see which ones are. For example, this one in here or this one in here. I would take this one in here. Let's import this one. Okay, good news. It came in the right direction. That's good. Now I don't see much in here because it's on the wireframe. So where do I have that? I think, yeah, it's this one in here. So let's get in here. Let's put this one in here like that. There. So now, if I'm going in here just to be sure that I'm positioning in the right place, that's it. Let's rotate it. Maybe a bigger scale. There. That looks quite nice. Maybe higher up. Not sure if I like it higher up, but maybe with some other details. Not so simple. Yep. Closer to the camera. Somewhere around here. And what I think we should do is to reduce the scale. Even more. I don't want to be like the main subject in the scene or whatever, or anything like that. So I'll just insert it onto a ground, just to cover for those details that we don't see. Okay, so it needs to go closer to here. And of course it will need the same color. So the color that we have in here, we need to apply it in here. With the same color it will be able to blend in quite nicely. So same color there. Far better details around. Nice. Now what I would want to do is to get the same color for the mountains that we have in here. I could use a color correct for all these mountains and for everything so that I don't lose the albedo information from them. But everything is so foggy that it's pointless to work so much time just for that level of information when anyway it's not going to be visible. Okay, let's save the scene. It's funny how this sits in the air, but not having so much fog in the scene, it doesn't matter. Right, so now the rocks are darker, so obviously through the fog they will become more visible, so we can afford to increase the fog for the main box that we use for the main fog. Let me see where are the, yes, so the first volumetric material is in here. Let's increase it for a bit more to see less. That's already way too much. Let's focus on this area and increase the visibility. Again, we want to see some, but not all, not too little, not too much, just enough to make it interesting. There, good. So that would be the adjusted fog. Can we do anything about this now to be a little bit more interesting? Maybe some God rays. If I come with the sun somewhere around here, of course the light will be masked out by the mountains. So the sun is there. So if I am doing something similar to that and come with the light from here, from the side, for example, this would give me some interesting God rays and with the fog around, so this could be interesting to have as a shot. Well, for now I stay with the sun in the position that we have. And I think we can do something else. We can increase the contrast, or we can decrease even more the amount of skylight. Now it's at 0.03, so if I'm letting it at 0.01 or even 0, there it's not much anymore. It's still, I don't think it's the skylight really, but if I'm increasing the turbidity, that should make things to be a bit more foggy. Of course, if I'm increasing the intensity of the skylight, it will be something different. Can we maybe increase the altitude to get some blue? If I'm forcing the altitude of 15,000 meters, yeah, I will still have some blue, but it's not. Oh yes, and we have a volume effect applied for some reason. So I would keep it as it is, just looking at the aces. Aces output transform it should be as a name. More sun towards white, a lot more intensity, a lot more of light. I don't want that much light. Different sun position. Ah yes, so maybe what we could try to do is in the volume to give directionality, let's say 0.5, it would make it lighter closer to the sun position and darker the further away it is from the sun. So how about 0.8? 0.8 is way too much. 0.7 maybe. Yeah. So that's going a bit better. And in this way, if I am decreasing the sun position, it will get lighter in there. And let's check to see how it is on the horizon line with all those mountains there. Yeah, I think it's quite alright. This sun position is also nice, rather than all gloomy and a bit harder to render, but that's okay. Not too worried about that one. Okay, let's try with the sun at a lower position. How about shadows coming from the side? So that would be, for example, like some kind of morning thing. Now I did have it as a direct input towards blue or white, so not necessarily, we don't necessarily want the same anymore. But if I'm keeping it in here and put it on realistic, we will have the tint from the sun, which is not bad. Direct input is, yes, towards blue. So how about pure white? Of course, this will be bluish tint. I don't want to be that blue. Yes, this could work. So either this, that, maybe less, even less blue. And yeah, we have reached the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. I will let this clean and then use the image as a preview for the YouTube video. I hope this is interesting and useful as well for you. Please like and subscribe, and whatever opinions you have, please comment. I will be very happy to read your comments and to see what you think about. So that's it. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day. Goodbye.